Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a fun little project to share with you today. I reviewed this book, Journey to Bethlehem, which is a treasury of Christmas devotionals. There are 30 in here. And so what I'm going to be doing is setting up a little project because I want to work through this devotional. And I thought it would be fun to kind of make some cards that I can display as I'm going through the month. And so what I'm going to be using is this crafty card flip display. This is made by my friend Bobby. She is at Precious Memory Boxes on Etsy. I will link her Etsy shop down below in the description. And also I do have a code for you. So if you use Mindy15, you will get a discount in her shop. And she makes beautiful wooden display boxes, kind of like this. I have a craft caddy on my desk that holds like my favorite glues and inks and stuff. She has made like memory dex boxes, like Rolodex boxes. She has made little displays. I've shown them on my channel before. So be sure to go over and check out her Etsy shop. But I'm going to be using this new crafty card flip display to create some cards that I can work through this devotional, just to kind of take some bits and pieces of information, or maybe a quote from the devotional or my takeaway from it, and just have something fun to display this holiday season. So I just want to give you some of the dimensions of this display really quickly. So at the base, it's roughly 8 by 8 inches by 3 inches, and it's about 6 3/4 inches tall. The inside opening is about like 5 3/4 by 5 1/4 or something like that. And it comes with these 2 book rings on here, and you could certainly change these out if you wanted to, but they do have little grooves cut into the wood, so these are not going to slide when you actually have this standing to display, and then you can kind of just flip through. So this will be a fun project to do, not only just for this season, but for other things. And so I'm really excited to do this. I think this would be a great gift if you have people that like to do Advent projects or stuff like that. I think this would be perfect. So like I said, be sure to use that code, and I'll put her link down below. But what I'm going to be doing is taking some of just my stash of Christmas things that I have, and I'm going to be creating some cards, probably roughly 4 inches or 4.5 inches, that I can put in the center here. And then I'm going to just sort of give myself a head start into this season because it's so busy anyway. And so the more that I can do ahead of time, the better. So I'm going to create some cards, and I just thought I would take you along for this process, but I wanted to share a little bit about this crafty card flip display because Bobby had sent it to me a while ago. This is the first time I'm having a chance to share it with y'all. So I'm going to put you on fast forward. We're going to make some cards, or some, at least the bases for this Advent sort of display that I'm going to be working on this next month. Okay, so I have pulled out a few different pieces of cardstock that I've had in my stash. I have a couple of green. I have one that's like a dark red and then a brown, and I'm just going to be cutting these down. I think originally I cut these down to like 5.5, and then I ended up having to trim them a little bit. So obviously your dimensions will vary, but I'm just going to cut those all down into squares, and then I alternated them between all of the colors, and I need to make a little template. So I'm using an extra one that I had trimmed, and I'm just holding this up to the little caddy here, the little flip display, and I'm going to mark exactly where those grooves are for the rings. You could measure. I'm just doing this the cheater way, just kind of getting an idea for how far down I want my holes to go. In the end, I decided about 1/2 inch, a little less than 1/2 inch down from the top. And originally I created this little template, and then I made the holes so that they were just a little bit crooked. So I'm just using a regular hole punch for this, and then I will have to go actually and redo. You can kind of see how my holes on that side are just a little bit crooked. So when I thought maybe it would work, and then I tried hanging it on here, you could really tell that they were not straight. So but this is kind of the idea for how this project is going to look. So I am actually taking that same card, and I'm just going to actually now make a better template. So I'm coming down a little bit here, about 1/2 inch, like I said, and I'm going to draw a line straight across, and then I will make the lines where continue down from where the actual grooves were in the display, if that makes sense. Certainly you could actually just measure this and do a much better job. But what I wanted to do was kind of have that intersecting point. Because my hole punch is kind of big, I want to make sure that I can get it exactly where I need to. I thought about using my We Are Memory Keepers punch, which you can kind of use actually in a little bit better of a way to kind of measure those distances, but I wanted the holes to be just a little bit bigger so they would slide easier. So I'm just using this old hole punch that I have. I did take off the little back piece so that I could see what I was doing, so that I can make sure that I'm getting that hole exactly where I want. There's where I was kind of debating about actually using this punch, but in the end I did use the bigger, and I'm glad that I did. I think the other holes from my We Are Memory Keepers would have just been a little bit too small. So I'm going to now use this card with this template, and I'm just going to go through and punch all of these cards. So I'm just lining it up. And that's the benefit to being able to kind of see where you're doing. That's why I pulled off that little back piece. So the little hole pieces are going everywhere all over my desk, but that's okay. It's like little confetti everywhere. But I wanted to make sure that I could really see so that when I'm punching, I'm actually punching in the correct place. So just going through here, I'm going to punch every one of these cards. And what I decided to do is because this is a 30-day devotional, I have basically, I'm going to be using front and backs. That way, I was afraid that by the time I added all of the embellishments and the extra papers and the cards and everything else, that it would just have been too much to have 30 individual cards. So I'm using the cardstock for front and back. So halfway through the month, we'll flip it to the other side, if that makes sense. So once they're all punched, this is kind of what it looks like. And I have these papers that I've had in my stash forever. This one is from the Paper Studio, just really, really old. Some of them are actual scraps that I'm just pulling out of there. And then I also found a set from Simple Stories that I felt like goes with this as well. And so I'll kind of be alternating between these two paper packs. And at this point, I'm really just trying to get all 30 of these cards sort of started ahead of time. I know that December is going to be super busy, and I have a bunch of projects that I want to be doing as always, and I still want to have time to, do all the family fun things. And so I decided to just get as much of this done ahead of time as I possibly can. So what I have decided to do here is I'm adding these pattern papers over the top, and I'm leaving these actually as pockets. Now, I might not use them as pockets, but I wanted to give myself the option because I don't know what each day is going to look like in terms of how much I want to record and different things like that. So you'll see me go through this. I'm just kind of showing you here. I am not really measuring anything. I'm tearing most of the papers, trying to get through all of these pages as quickly as I can, really. Just going through, this was from the Simple Stories collection. I'm just tearing across here and going to make a little pocket down at the bottom. And again, if I end up not using this as a pocket, it's fine. I can add a little bit of glue. It's not going to go anywhere anyway. The art glitter glue that I'm using is really strong, so I don't really have to worry about it. But I could, close up the pocket if I decide not to use it, but this just gives me an option as well down the road. So I'm just moving to the next card here, and again, now I'm just going to create a pocket over on the side. I loved these vintage typewriters, and you'll see I'm just kind of deciding where I want it and then trimming off the edge. I'm not really counting or measuring or anything. I don't have really any ideas in my mind. I'm just doing whatever comes to mind at the time. And so there are several times where I do have to go back through and repunch the hole at the top because I've covered it with the pattern paper. And that's just fine too. It will still work as a pocket and everything when I go to use these cards. So now working on the back, I am trying to be a little bit mindful of the cards that are sort of surrounding it and the paper that I'm using. So obviously I don't want to have two papers that are the same next to each other. So I'm just kind of going back and forth. I love this plaid. This was actually a Simple Stories paper. And I absolutely love this plaid. So I try to use each one of these papers a couple different times through all 30 days. But because this was really just a few sheets of cardstock, there was really a lot that I was able to use in terms of scraps. This particular page here with these horns on it, I decided to not make a pocket out of this because I'm covering up really most of the card. And I wanted to make sure I had that. So this page with the brown in the background, I have this little page. This is again from the Simple Stories collection, and I love this little deer on there. I think he's so cute. And so I just tore off the section that had kind of the sentiment on the right side, and this will still work perfectly for a pocket. Obviously it's, much bigger than the size of this card, but you still get the idea of that sweet little deer. And then this back side, I have this kind of reminds me of like a candy cane. And so I just wanted to do a little bit of that. But again, just leaving those as pockets and punching out the hole as I need to. And then for this one, I love these little postcard images as well, making a little bottom sort of pocket here, but I did make that one just a little bit taller. And then another one of the pages had a sentiment on it that I obviously don't want to use. It would be just far too big for the card. So I'm going around again the image, but just from across the bottom and just tearing again. Certainly you could cut this out. You could use an X-Acto knife if you were interested, but I was really trying to just kind of keep this really vintage and rustic and quick. So again, that one kind of covered up a good portion of the card. And this one I'm going to do across the top, just again, trimming down the sides. And I'm going to do a flip at the end of this so you can kind of see each card as they were finished, because I realized I'm kind of cutting out a lot of this. I didn't want this to be too laborious as I'm just really gluing down paper. But this one I decided to make a little belly band in the middle. And so I started with just gluing this just at the top. And then I will, instead of having to try to measure everything, I'll just come down to the bottom of the red card there and add my little piece of glue and then just trim off the excess. It just works out really well that way. This is going to end up just being a little corner tuck. This was from that same paper. I just wanted to utilize most of that instead of having a lot of waste. Again, another little section at the top. And this was a page you can see where I kind of tore from either end of it. And so I am just going to use this kind of across the diagonally across the page. And I'm a big fan of plaid. And so, so I really loved this page as well. And then again, if I use this as a pocket, I can glue down one side or the other, or I just won't use that particular page as a pocket. So these are what the cards look like now that I'm finished. I'm going to do a little flip. This first day, I went ahead and did the first day of the devotional, which was talking about Joy to the World, this song, and gave some information. And it also gave a verse to reference in Psalms. And so I wrote that verse out, and then I added that to the front. So that's kind of an idea for how these pages are going to end up looking. And then when I get to the end, I'll just flip it over, and now I can do all of the back sides. And as I was flipping, I struggle a little bit here. It's not from the actual display itself. It's how I was trying to film this so you could actually see the cards on the display, which was a little bit tricky. But let me know if throughout the month you'd like to see some more of these cards as I'm working. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do a video for each card, but I may pop on throughout the month and just do a display and maybe talk about the devotional as well. I do have a review of that, like I said, I can include in the description as well. So if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.